All right, thank you very much, Sharon Epperson. Freshman ringing the opening bell. It is Ireland Day at the New York Stock Exchange. Business and government leaders discussing opportunities for investment in that country. Over the past year, the Irish Stock Exchange is up about 19% overall. With me now is the Prime Minister of Ireland, Enda Kenny. Mr. Kenny, great to have you with us here.
Thank you, Melissa.
First of all, the reason for you being in New York is to make the case that Ireland is a great place to do business in and invest. What sort of reception have you been getting so far?
Brilliant. I came out on Thursday to Chicago for the St. Patrick's celebrations, met with business organizations up there. Mayor Rahm Emanuel went down to Notre Dame, to the university. The Fighting Irish came to New York last night, Stock Exchange today. Ireland is a great privilege, actually. But what we've put together in our country with our demographics and the package that we actually offer in terms of talent, tax, technology and track record makes us a really strong place to invest in. This was echoed by President Clinton when he called his investment conference here in New York just a few weeks ago, where he said people would be nuts not to invest in a country like that. So we've changed structures in our governance in the last 12 months. We're now facing a future with confidence, deposits coming back into banks, real interest in investment in the country, proven by American decisions in particular in the last 3 months.
Right.
Many of the corporations have made serious decisions to invest big money.
Jim Cramer and I were making the point earlier in the show that a lot of tech companies are heavily invested in Ireland already, and that remains a great place to do business simply because of the demographics, a very highly educated workforce bent towards technology. How does that overlap with the 14% you have in unemployment? Do you see that being the answer to your high unemployment rate, or what will make that drop?
The answer. We've got a very creative, very imaginative, very energetic young workforce. Clearly, unemployment figures are much too high. But when you're given the talent pool that we have, with the requirement for IT specialists and all of that, clearly there's a marriage that needs to be made here. Obviously, in the last period, Ireland's refocused on what we can do. I see no reason why in the next number of years we can't demonstrate and prove that we're the best small country in the world in which to do business, or to be a global centre for cloud computing and data content storage. All of these companies are there at the moment, and we're ahead of the posse in many respects, and we're going to work very hard over the period ahead to give many of those young unemployed people the opportunity in all of those sectors to actually find gainful employment.
So one of the answers may be the cloud, actually, for Ireland, you're saying?
Yes, the cloud
is going to be a huge industry there.
The cloud has enormous potential over the next decade, and we see no reason why we shouldn't become a global centre for cloud computing and data content storage.
I want to ask you about the referendum that is coming up, the referendum for the EU Fiscal Compact. ECB Executive Board member Smoggy has said that if voters reject that referendum, that Ireland will lose influence in European matters. What do you think is actually on the line? Are you confident that the referendum can, in fact, pass?
I am confident the referendum will pass. This is not a European Union treaty. This is an intergovernmental agreement among 25 countries. Therefore, Ireland cannot stop this. Once it's ratified by 12 countries, it moves on. What's involved here, essentially, is an insurance policy for our children and for the future of the country. In that Ireland's in a bailout programme, as you're aware. We expect to come out of that in the end of 2 years. But by ratifying the treaty to take effect from the 1st of January next year, we actually guarantee for the future, in that if the country, for some unforeseen reason, needed finance from the European Stability Mechanism, ratifying the treaty guarantees that. So it's like a house insurance policy. You hope you never have to draw it down, but it's there if you need it. But that keeps investor confidence at a very high level. In other words, the train for the future leaves on the 1st of January next year. We want to ensure that our people are on that.
Okay, in terms of Europe overall, you're very optimistic for Ireland itself in terms of facing the future, but in terms of Europe, have we seen the worst? Is the worst behind Europe?
I think what you're seeing here, Melissa, is a change of attitude and understanding by Europe. I joined the European Council just 12 months ago. Clearly, there were decisions made that were not followed through and was not reflected in market confidence arising from those decisions. Europe's now changed its position, and instead of talking about catastrophe and default and exit from the euro and the breakup of the eurozone, now talking about a constructive future where growth and jobs are central to every agenda and every council meeting from now on. Because it's in America's interest and the world's interest that European economies prosper and shape up, as it were. So good housekeeping, good budgetary control, growth agendas, a jobs agenda will now be a central feature of each European Council meeting from now on.
Okay, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Enda Kenny of Ireland.
Thank you.
Brian.
All right, Melissa.